Hi, today my topic is management options in infertility and ART options. So, before that, we'll see what is the action plan in a management of a couple with infertility. So, infertility is an emerging public health priority. As you all know, what is infertility means inability to conceive after 12 months of unprotected sexual activity. So, although there are not much major methods available for prevention, uh, there are some terms which can be used like primary, secondary, and tertiary levels of prevention. So, however, the better management which can be done is the need for better access to diagnosis and treatment. So, the main thing which is the need of the hour is preventing adverse outcome of infertility treatment, and the process for developing the action plan, which is a cost effective approach at the same time with the advanced infertility management. That is, our main aim should be management of a couple with infertility with better advanced infertility management. At the same time, it should be cost effective and with low cost. So, when you come to the infertility management, the two main partners that are involved with many invisible forces. So, it is the race with time and time bound. So, we cannot tell that when the management is going to be successful and how long the couple has to undergo the management, and when there will be eventual success in the treatment. So, it all depends on the time and the underlying factors which are contributing for the infertility in the couples. So, mainly if you see the three main management strategies, we can initially start with an expected management. If expected management has been undergone for years in an older couple, you can start with a standard management of infertility, and if it is not going to be active, you have to go with a more aggressive active management, which is action plan. The active management has been undertaken for 1 year. So, when we see grossly the management strategies with infertility, mainly depends on various factors which can be how they are going to be successful. So, grossly, if we take, these are the factors which are associated with the poor outcomes in infertility, and likely they will take many years of management and likely to be more expensive. So, one is the age more than 35 years, BMI more than 30, genital tuberculosis, patients with single ovary, previous repeated ovarian surgeries, those with endometriosis, and long-term thyroid disorders. These patients tend to have poor outcome with various management strategies with and options with infertility, and the treatment is likely to take for more time and likely to be more expensive. So, possibilities of prevention, if you see, known or potential causes of infertility includes genital abnormalities, environmental, occupational, and infectious agents, delayed childbearing, behavioral factors, PCODs. So, although there is no eventual studies which show that these are the definitive preventive methods of infertility, we can concentrate on certain modifiable factors like environment, like occupational, avoiding high risk, working at a very hot environment, and certain occupational hazards which can cause infertility, certain infectious agents like mumps, and in women, those who are more conscious on education, and those who want to delay marriage and delay childbearing. All those things you can keep in mind so that you can to some extent avoid the risk factors associated with the infertility. So, mainly the prevention may be substantially effective in some cases. For example, tubal infertility affects 18% of the couple who try to overcome infertility using assisted reproductive technology, and is typically the consequence of chronic PID in genital tuberculosis, which can result in tubal scarring. So, the clinical trials have shown that the risk of PID can be greatly decreased by early detection and treatment of sexually transmitted diseases, in particular chlamydia infection. So, in a woman with childbearing age, so what you have to keep in mind is any woman with childbearing age who's sexually active and who has features of STDs, it is better. It is ideal that you should early diagnose and treat so that you does not have the consequences of PID. That is the tubal damage and tubal scarring, which in turn can result in infertility. So certain modifiable factors you can concentrate so that you can, to some extent, avoid infertility in the future. So this is a picture which shows genital tuberculosis with HSG, where you can see the uterus filled with the dye, but both sides the tubes are blocked and there is no spill of the dye on both sides of the tube. So the incidence of about tuberculosis is 2.2 million cases in India every year, and about 5 lakh people die of tuberculosis each year in India. So the normal involvement of organs in tuberculosis is the tubes is the most common, involved about 85 to 90%, endometrium 35 to 50%, ovaries 5 to 6, cervix 3%, and vulva and vagina 2%. So the incidence of tuberculosis in the USA is increasing due to the immigrant population. So there are new methods for detection of growth of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, along with the gene probe and gene amplification techniques, have provided excellent tools for rapid detection of isolates, direct detection of mycobacterial pathogens from clinical specimens, and detection of drug resistance. These methods to achieve the highest sensitivity and the specificity in the future. So there is increasing evidence that lifestyle factors like tobacco, smoking, obesity, which can cause chronic diseases and disability later in life, can affect their fertility during the reproductive years. So these are the modifiable factors which you should avoid. So the men should be advised around avoiding smoking, alcohol. They should maintain an ideal BMI to maintain a good physical activity and healthy dietary habits. So the age and infertility, the biological clock. So when you see what is the maternal effect of maternal age on infertility? So with the age advances, there is depletion of the primordial follicular pool, disorganization of the oocyte meiotic spindle, or there will be the eggs will get more older with poor quality. So the women's aging of the ovary also will parallel with the chronological age. That is, when the age of the women increases, the aging of the ovary also increases. So with increased aging of the women, there is a marked decline in the fertility. So what you have to remember is, up to the 30 years of age, the loss of the follicles in the human ovary is mainly due to atresia of the resting follicles. So after reaching a critical threshold in the number of follicles, the requirement of growing follicles is increased twofold, and thereafter the loss of follicles is mainly due to the atresia of the follicles. So the initial periods of reproductive age, mainly the loss is mainly due to the atresia of the resting follicles, but later it is due to the growing follicles. So at the time of birth only, the women will be having a fixed number of follicles in the ovary, and with every menstrual cycle, when the release of ovum occurs, there will be a depletion of the follicles. So with increase in the age of the women, there is increase in aging of the ovaries, with depletion of the ovarian follicles, with decline in the fertility. So this picture shows the triad: optimal fertility, there will be decline, and end of fertility, and there will be irregular cycles. There is an anovulatory pattern will be developing here with development of menopause. So 10% of the whole population, women, become menopausal by the age of 45 years, have experienced an accelerated decline of fertility around the age of 32. These women can be classified under a separate clinical entity called early ovarian aging. So there is a chance of premature ovarian failure or the early ovarian aging, and this has been increased in the recent times mainly because of various environmental factors, and there can be some family history of also early ovarian aging or premature ovarian failure. So the fixed time interval between accelerated decline in fertility and the menopause is around 13 years. So what are the clinical suspects you can involve in patient who can have poor outcome, like age more than 35 years, unexplained infertility, poor stimulation, recurrent cyst formation, shorter follicular phase, early LH surge, premature elevation of progesterone requiring very high gonadotropin doses, idiopathic recurrent abortions, and aneuploidy. These patients are tend to have a poor outcome, and they may require long years of treatment and with more expenses. So women with a family history of early menopause, chemotherapy, those who have undergone radiotherapy, because there will be depletion of the ovarian follicles and the damage to ovaries, those with previous pelvic surgery, previous pelvic infections and tubal disease, those with single ovary, those with severe endometriosis, and those with long-standing hypothyroid. So the need of the hour is the judicious use of the finite supply of the eggs and preservation of the nature's grip of the eggs in the ovary should be in our hands. So what are the tests you are going to do in evaluating the patient with infertility? That is, the women, is you have to do an ultrasound where you have to look for the antral follicle count, which detects the number of the antral follicles, the primordial follicles in the ovaries, ovarian volume, ovarian stromal blood flow, and so one have to based on this, you can, what are the things you can keep in mind when you're planning advanced management is, based on this ultrasound you can decide whether higher doses of gonadotropin, if there are less number of eggs, if you see the follicles, you can decide that higher doses of gonadotropins are required, multifollicular development, and addition of borderline male problem, PCOS. So this advanced management is where when the infertility issues are tend to be more severe. So what are things you have to keep in mind is, you may require higher doses of gonadotropins. You should need a multifollicular development so that you get a more number of eggs. And if there is additional male problem which is a borderline, which that also has to be addressed. And if this is a PCOS, you have to look. And if there is any moderate to severe endometriosis, or if there is repeated all tests are proven to be normal, and there is unexplained infertility, or previous 6 cycles of IUA which has been failed, and based on the women's age, duration, and type of infertility also you should keep in mind. So what are we trying to predict is how likely patient has a chance to conceive spontaneously, and based on all the tests and the current situation, how long can she delay trying to conceive based on her age. Like if she is more than 35 years, you cannot give much time for her to conceive spontaneously with expected management. If she is younger age, you can give some time. And what are the treatment options should we use? So next is the assisted reproductive technologies which we are using is the IUI, intrauterine insemination, IVF, in vitro fertilization, ICSI, intracytoplasmic semen insemination, and GIFT, that is the gamete intrafallopian transfer, blastocyst transfer, cryopreservation, assisted hatching, and prenatal genetic diagnosis. So in vitro fertilization indications are blocked tubes and severe endometriosis, IUI repeated failures, unexplained infertility, or if the woman has poor quality of eggs and you're going to get an egg or embryo donation. So before ART, you have to undergo certain preparations. That is, one is diagnostic hysteroscopy. That is, you have to do an hysteroscopy, which is a laparoscopic visualization of interior of the uterus, so that you are going to keep an embryo which has been formed from ART inside the uterus. So before that, you have to check for the uterine conditions. You have to look for polyps, submucous fibroid, if there is any intrauterine septum, intrauterine adhesion, cervical stenosis, cervical canal direction mapping. So cervical because these, if problems are there, they should be corrected before you're going to do for an ART. So you also have to you can do sometimes you should concentrate on these things before planning ART also. One is hydrosalping. So if it is there, you have to block or clip the both tubes before performing ART. If there is any genital tuberculosis, they should be kept in mind. If there is any fibroids, adenomyosis, endometriosis, or PCOS. This is a picture showing PCOS with enlarged ovaries with peripheral arrangement of multiple follicles with a thickened stroma. So it is better that before performing ART, you go for certain optimization, that is certain preliminary measures. One is you can educate the couple to maintain ideal BMI and controlling higher levels of LH to avoid premature ovulation, and decreasing severity of hyperandrogenism and sensitization of ovary to insulin. So in PCOS patients, it's better to improve BMI. You can perform an ovarian drilling. You can treat them with metformin, treatment of allied conditions, hypothyroidism and hyperprolactinemia. So in vitro fertilization, what is the thing is, first you have to do from day 2 of cycle ovarian stimulation. That is, you have to increase the number of follicle growth in the ovary by administration of various drugs, which can be either a pure FSH, recombinant FSH, or human menopausal gonadotropin. Then you should downregulate the endogenous gonadotropin surge by using a GnRH analog, so that the normal ovulation which occurs in the body does not occur. And there are different protocols with IVF. I'm not going to go into detail, just I will name. It can be an agonist or antagonist protocol, which can use either clomiphene citrate or letrozole with combination of gonadotropins or an antagonist. So cycle monitoring, you have to monitor the cycles based on ultrasound growth of the follicles and estradiol levels. And once you reach the specific size of the follicles, you have to give a trigger for ovulation with HCG, which can be either urinary or recombinant, and then you have to give a GnRH analogs. So after you give these drugs, there will be ovulation after 36 hours. So you have to plan for an oocyte retrieval and remove the oocytes and collect it, fertilize in the labs, and then transfer the embryos after 2 to 5 days. So this is the protocols which are involved in ART, that is GnRH agonist, which can be given subcutaneous, nasal, or depot preparations. And then this is a protocol which shows where you have to do ultrasound on day 2 of the cycle. Before that, from day 21 you have to do down regulation, and then from day 2 to day 7 you have to give gonadotropin, that is FSH. Day 7 look for ultrasound and estradiol, then do HMG on 8th to 10th days. Then you have to supplement with GnRH antagonist, and on the 11th day, when the follicle size has been optimal, you can give HCG for ovulation, and then do oocyte pickup, that is OPU, after 38 hours. Then embryo transfer on day 2 or day 3 or day 5. Day 5 if you are going, that will be a blastocyst transfer. So what are the ICSI indications? So ICSI is a still more advanced version than the conventional IVF. In IVF, you are going to fertilize both the ovum and the sperm in the laboratory, where ICSI is intracytoplasmic semen insemination or injection, where you're directly going to inject the sperm into the cytoplasm of the ovum. So this indications for this method of ART is severe oligospermia in the male, that is when the count is less than 5 million, and previous failed fertilization with IVF. Azoospermias, like when the male has complete azoospermias, when you're going to get a donor sperm or something, it is you have to go for ICSI for a better results to apply, because you're getting a sperm from a donor person. And then if you are planning for PGD, because a family history of any genetic abnormalities, previous child affected, etc., or if the male has immunological factors for infertility, where the anti-sperm antibodies or increased damage of the sperms have been evident in the semen analysis, you can go for a selected good sperms and then selected ICSI and for better results. And if there is male has an ejaculated dysfunction, or paraplegic males where there is testicular semen extraction, that is if the male is not able to ejaculate because of neurological conditions, and if you cannot detect proper number of sperms in the semen sample, you have to go for a direct extraction of sperms from the testicular aspiration directly. In that case, the sperms which you have obtained are very precious, so that the very ideal treatment method you should go after obtaining such precious sperms. So it is better that you go for directly ICSI methods. And also whereas okay, so this is a ICSI technique where there is a needle-like thing which you can, so this will be containing the sperm, and this is the round, the bigger one is the ovum, and with this they will directly go and puncture the zona pellucida of the ovum and inject the sperm into the cytoplasm for fertilization. So if there is obstructive azoospermia means there is you cannot detect the sperms in the semen, and the azoospermia can be two types, obstructive and non-obstructive. If it is obstructive, it means that there is some blockage in the vas or epididymis. That is the reason the spermatogenesis is normally happening in the testes, but you cannot detect the sperms in the semen. So in such cases, obstruction, when you're not able to get the sperms from the semen sample, you can go for a PSA technique, that is percutaneous epidermal sperm aspiration, or TSA, testicular epidermal sperm aspiration, or testicular sperm extraction techniques, where you have to directly go for puncturing of these epidermis or testes and obtaining the sample of the sperms and going for fertilization. So non-obstructive azoospermia, in such cases, so you can go for testicular sperm extractions, and if there is no sperms, then you can do an open biopsy and punctures and then obtain the sperms. Optimal timing will be 6 to 24 hours prior to oocyte pickup, ideal 6 hours before and after cryopreservation. So after obtaining the sperm by various techniques, it is ideal you can perform the extraction of the sperms. OPU means it is a oocyte pickup. So after doing all the protocols as I told you earlier, when the follicles are ready, you are going to give HCG, so that after 36 to 38 hours you will have an oocyte pickup, that is under ultrasound guidance. You will be picking up all the ovarian follicles with the ova. So you have to plan for the extraction of the sperms ideally with these techniques some 6 to 24 hours before this procedure, so that both can have ideal quality for your procedure or ICSI or whatever procedure you are planning to be successful. After that, the sperms can be cryopreserved until the oocytes have been retrieved, and then the procedure has been planned. So failure of ICSI, or if they cannot afford treatment, you can go for, so if the couple after repeated cycles of IUI fail, and if you are going for IVF or ICSI and if it fails, or if the patient after repeated IVF failures cannot afford this higher managements of IVF or ICSI, and if there is gross abnormalities of the male partner, then you can try IUI with the donor, that is the donor sperm. So so ideally, if before, to avoid infertility, one of the things you have to keep in mind is if sometimes the male's sperm can be banked, so that in the future it can be useful to avoid or manage this fertility problems. One is if the patient is undergoing a vasectomy, sometimes in future if they require child or something, then you can preserve the sperms before procedure, so that later it can be useful. Or if they are planning for any radiotherapy or chemotherapy in the husband because of any various malignant conditions or any procedure which can damage the sperms, before the procedure you can collect the sperms and store them for cryopreservation. Or if the patient has complaints of retrograde ejaculations, or if there is already oligospermia, in order to avoid gross destruction at the later stage, you can bank in the before itself. So if you are going to start a couple with borderline like oligospermia, initially if you're starting with IUA, you may not be sure like what is the ultimate results, and you may require ART in the future like ICSI or IVF. So in such cases, for backup for assisted reproduction, you can collect and store. And if the patient on testing has found to have sperm antibodies, there can be rapid destruction of the sperms. So to avoid that, you can collect the samples ideally before, and you can store them in cryopreservation, so that later if required you can use them. So this is a blastocyst culture where after, as I told you, the embryo transfer has been done in the women's uterus. Before that, you can transfer it on day 2 or day 5 of day 2, day 3 or day 5 of cycle. Day 5 means the embryo which has been formed as a result of ICSI or IVF will be in the blastocyst stage after culture, and this will be placed in the women's uterus. So if you're going to transfer blastocyst, the pregnancy rate is around 50%. So blastocyst culture reduces multiple pregnancy rates. So if you're going to have a good blastocyst and you're going to transfer it, you can even think of transferring even a single blastocyst, so that you can at the same time have a good pregnancy rate, at the same time avoid multiple transfers and avoid multiple pregnancy rates. So blastocyst culture can make a prenatal genetic diagnosis application much easier. That is, you can directly puncture and get it, and then make PGD much easier. So you can what does PGD means? Prenatal genetic diagnosis. So if the couple or the family already has some genetical abnormality, if you culture the embryo up to a blastocyst stage, you can pick up some blastomeres from that and you can test PGD. This will be more easier to do. And this can be done either combined with day 2 or day 3 embryo transfer for sequential transfers. So this is assisted laser hatching. This procedure is meant for making small holes with the help of laser in the walls of the embryo. This procedure is mainly done so that the embryo has better implantation rates within the uterus. So this procedure is mainly done to increase implantation rates and the pregnancy rates. So what are indications of assisted laser hatching? Indications more than 35 years, repeated IVF failures, zona thickness of more than 15 microns, post-thaw embryo transfer. That is, if you have freeze the embryo already and after that you are going after a few months or later you are going to do the thawing and then transfer, it is better to do assisted laser hatching and prefer doing a PGD. So routine use in all patients does not improve pregnancy rates. Okay, so pre-implantation genetic screening. This is you can see this is the long needle which has a small round like thing in the end. This is a blastome, the round like thing, and this with the help of this needle you are going to puncture the blastocysts which has been cultured and remove the blastomere and do genetic testing to see if there is genetic abnormality before you are going to place the embryo in the women. If this is indicated if the family has any genetic problems or previous child affected with any genetic conditions. So what are the indications of PGD? Traditional PGD, screening for embryos for genetic defects, and prenatal genetic screening. Aneuploidy is indicated if there is recurrent failures. So if the couple has genetic abnormality in the family or previous children, you can go for a PGD. Or if there is recurrent failure of the pregnancy due to aneuploidy, you can go for prenatal genetic screening. So PGD therapy is aimed at creating genetically matched sibling for treating affected children. So embryo cryopreservation is freezing of extra embryos. What are indications for doing this procedure is freezing of extra embryos. If there is OHSS, if there is that is, you are not, after cultivating the embryo, you are not going to transfer it in the same cycle. You have to cryopreserve and you can do it in the later. What is the indication of doing such thing is, if there is more number of embryos, you can transfer some and store it later some. And if there is OHSS, you should not transfer embryos if there is ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome following administration of various gonadotropins. I am not going into detail of that. If there is poor endometrial lining, if there is a difficult embryo transfer, or if this combination of all of these. So what is cryopreservation? Two types of cryopreservation: slow freezing or vitrification. So where you are slowing I'm not going to detail, just I'm going to outline. So slow freezing is a traditional time tested where you're going to freeze the embryos, and vitrification is a new technique where you have to rapidly store under nitrogen for freezing the embryos. So cryopreservation's innovations, egg banking was introduced in India in 2006, and if the woman has any malignancy, if she is planned for any pelvic surgeries or radiotherapy or chemotherapy, it is better. And if she is reproductive age group, you can preserve the ovarian tissue, cryopreserve, so that after treatment, if there is any damage, which will mostly happen following radiotherapy or chemotherapy, you can retrieve this and retrieve the ovaries and then plan for assisted reproductive technologies. In vitro maturation, so good alternative for poor responders of PCOS. So FHS priming has to be done on day 3, 4 or 5, HCG 10,000 on day 8, retrieval filtration and identification. Maturation for 24 to 48 hours, and then ICSI and embryo transfer. Pregnancy rates are 20 to 40%. While ART can help a large number of infertile couples, it is estimated that only 5% of ART candidates utilize this medical service. The reason being cost or lack of accessibility and awareness in certain geographical areas. So low cost ART services should be a national interest group initiative, and fine tuning is required in the ovulation induction and infertility management. So mainly the need of the hour is developing countries. Children are so highly valued that a woman's status is often solely defined through motherhood, and infertility becomes a severe stigma which uproots the whole family. So the policies and reproduction have become an increasingly important tool for governments seeking to meet the so-called dangerous demographic challenge created by the combination of low fertility, and lengthening life expectancies. The political will to act on matters of reproduction. So the facts are the infertility is a global problem, but the highest prevalence is in low resource countries where infection related to tubal damage is the most common cause. So assisted reproduction can be used to treat the infertility, and other factors are PCOS, endometriosis, and male factors. AIT services either unavailable or inaccessible to most of the poor resource countries. There is an urgent need for comprehensive and sexual and reproductive healthcare initiative involving maternal and child health, safe abortions, family planning, and infertility prevention and management. So the low-cost ART services couple in poorly resourced countries to be revisited, and it has to be addressed.